Welcome to the second to last episode of Wonka Watch, the penultimate experience. One more step to the top of the Wonka Mountain. And we look back at this mountain, and it's full of bodies. They are alive. People. It's lots of people have guided us up here, and they've been different Wonkas throughout this experience. Gene Wonka first held our hand as we stepped onto the trail. Johnny Wonka tried to lead us off the trail, and we kindly said no. And then we experienced all these other Wonkas that helped us get to this path. And it is finally time that we cross the final staircase, if you will. But to go up there, we must reckon with Timmy Wonka, who has yet to be determined on where he falls within the power. You know, because for now, we have a different Wonka who is like the owner of the mountain, the all-powerful Wonka. But
I mean,
Timmy
I don't think
Wonka,
he can't unseat Henry.
Oh, he won't. No. I'm just saying, like, you know, we have a lot of things to play with here. So
yes.
It is now time as we slowly start putting the gift wrap on this podcast, wrapping things up.
And with this being the penultimate episode, it feels like this is what we were trying to do from the beginning. It wasn't. It's just something we felt needed to be reckoned with before the podcast ends.
Yes, exactly. Because we talk about this all the time, about the different powers and how, like, I don't know, sometimes they can bend the universe.
Right. And we didn't come into this saying, like, oh, by the end of this podcast, we're going to need to have a very strict ranking of the powers of all the Wonkas.
Oh, yeah, no.
But also, like, we need to put our knowledge to use for something.
Yeah, consider this one of the final scoops of the stupid shit we know and doing something with it that has no actual purpose. It's not important, as we always say. It's really not that important. But let's use the last bits of our brain cells that have slowly died away and take that little Wonka knowledge, and we are going to figure out what is the power ranking.
This is a depressing intro.
Timmy Wonka. I feel like it's empowering. This is like the final stretch of the workout, right? It's the marathon. Yeah. We're on mile 20 and we kind of feel gross, but we got 6 miles to go and we can totally do it. But our bodies, we've been training for it, right? And we know this is when we get that runner's high. So this is it.
Yes.
This is when we spring forward and we go, we are Wonka Watch. And this is what we were meant to do. So let's go up that mountain and let's see where Timmy Wonka gets to go, and we can kick him down the mountain and he'll go where he needs to be happy, and we will be at peace and it will be settled and done.
That was Elaine Best, host of Wonka Watch's podcast Meltdown at the recent TEDx conference.
She was caught hyperventilating by the bagel station.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wonka Watch.
Hi.
This is a podcast where we've talked about Wonka for 2.5 years.
Whoa.
2.5. So now we're almost done. We're so close. We're so close to being free. And this is one of our last things we need to wrap up. What is the power ranking? Where does Timmy Wonka fall? Because we got to use our stupid knowledge for something. I guess a slight programming note so that you're all in the know. We've slightly changed our plans. What's going to happen now is 2 weeks from now, when normally a bi-weekly episode would come out, we're going to be putting up the legendary Watch Wonka with Wonka Watch, where you will, which is a commentary track of us watching Wonka, because we feel like that is important to have. So that'll be released free to everybody on the feed, and then that gives us an extra week to make the finale as perfect as we want it to be. I mean, it's not going to be perfect because nothing's perfect. That's an illusion, but like, nice. It'll be good, you know?
I feel like we're doing so many motivational moments here, and we're just dropping all these gems. We are at the Wonka TEDx. You're right.
We do go to therapy.
Yeah. Oh, I pay
Believe
for
it or
that
not,
shit.
we do go to therapy.
Yeah, I know. You guys wouldn't ever believe it.
But we are in therapy.
Yeah. It's been a couple years now. I've probably paid for my therapist's kids' college at this point.
Same.
And I just feel like I'm giving back to the world when I do that. So,
Exactly.
you're welcome,
Do you
society.
ever read that when they're like, most people's psychological issues will resolve within 6 months of doing therapy. And I'm like,
Wait,
girl.
really? Wait,
I
seriously?
read that and I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
No, that's
They must
comedy
have some
right there.
simple issues.
Anyway, yeah, our mental health has led us to this podcast.
Oh, God. We've gotten
Anyway.
off track. Timmy Wonka. We're not doing a Wonka Watch news because, you know what? I'll be honest, folks. I didn't feel like finding one. And I
Be
think when we're this
free.
close to the end, I'm allowed that. I'm allowed a break.
Yes,
Because
free.
also, there's no fucking news, so it
You know,
doesn't
like-
matter.
We are the
What?
news in a weird
What are you
way
gonna
if you
report
think
on?
about it. Yeah, what else is there?
Editing lane here. Yeah. We recorded that before the Wonka AI giant scam event happened in Scotland that blew up, and it became big enough that we felt compelled or called to by duty to record an episode on it with all the goodies and stuff. So no, Felicia was not actually free from Wonka Watch News. It found her anyway. But scheduling on the main feed, it wasn't possible to add it in there. But if you do want to listen to that fun little gem, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/WonkaWatch and listen to it there. We do actually have some Wonka Watch podcast news, which I'll insert here now.
We got a bit of Wonka Watch. Wonka Watch.
Aha.
Space news specific to Wonka Watch. Put quotes around the Wonka Watch, and that's what we're doing. Wonka Watch in quotes news. We are here to announce that we need your help because we, for our finale, shall be doing a lovely award ceremony. And we need your help deciding the winners. There will be a very fancy and high-tech Google form in the description of the episode in the show notes for you to fill out. And we want your opinions.
Yes. It should not take you long at all.
Exactly.
I assume everyone listening to this probably has very strong opinions. I don't think anyone will really be too torn up on it. So don't worry, you should not feel too much emotional agony. And yeah, we can't wait to be mad at what you choose or respect at what you choose. Possibly mad, but I'm excited.
Exactly. You know our opinions, but
Yes.
like you've all learned with us. So like, let's have you here. We did do some specific picking of the nominations, but we won't interfere more than that. So the form will be open until Sunday, March 17th. So go get your votes in.
It's your right. So do it.
Also register to vote. Goodbye.
So what are we about to do? How are we about to do this, Felicia? Break it down.
So, we're just going to go through kind of how we did with the power ranking episode where we ranked all the Wonkas. I have grabbed the list that we came up with, our final list from that episode, and then I also went back through because even now, even in my senioritis phase, I cannot not do a little bit of research. I re-listened to us talk about Wonka to make sure I didn't miss anything. And I wrote down all the different candies and all the different potential powers he has. And we're just going to talk about it. And I think this will take a while because this is big. We have to put a lot of thought into this. And there's a lot of like unique things we haven't dealt with. He's
yeah.
kind of an outlier.
He is, yeah.
And, you know, we talked a lot about on the original episode, which I think is somewhere in the 70 somethings, about how there's a reality breaking threshold. And I'll be honest, I can't tell if he does or not, which is interesting.
Yeah,
Like, I think we
was
need to
actually thinking
talk
about
about it.
this week as well.
Like, what does count? And is what he doing? Because everything is ambiguous.
Yeah, because like him standing on 3 ladders is quirky, but that also is like weird and hard
Right.
to explain. So like, yeah, we're gonna have to filter
Exactly.
out what's just quirky and what does that actually mean though behind the quirk. You
Right.
know?
And do we take things literally or metaphorically? Because with the song lyrics, there's some broad interpretations we can make. Right?
Yes.
So let's first talk about, let's go from least powerful to most powerful of our personal ranking. In least powerful, we had Mark Wonka because he is just a human magician. 13 was Alton Wonka because he's bound to a theme park ride, I believe. 12 is Gene. TJ Wonka is 11.
Hey, Fern.
Fern's growling. She got mad at the speaker, the name of TJ Wonka.
She's
being
like the
uttered.
one with animals. Absolutely not.
So TJ Wonka's above Gene because he does the weird body swap thing. Pop Tropico Wonka is up next. I think that's because he's on their currency.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
that
Like
why?
he had such an economic grip. And his
Yeah.
factory also had some
Which
like
is
weird shit going
Really
on.
stupid looking back, but yes, yeah. I feel like that one could be moved, but it's fine. Johnny Wonka. Johnny Wonka is number 9. He was higher up because of the bombs and things like that.
Yeah, like he could have weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
And he's just using it for chocolate fun for now, but it's like,
Yeah.
you could.
Then it's Doug and Christian. Christian was above Doug because of social capital, I believe.
Yes.
Because he had any social skills. And they were both that high up, I think, because of their access to uranium.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Was what it was. Okay. Then Greyhound Wonka / website Wonka, he's that high up from the Wonkanizer. And I think that's right. The Greyhound, in between Greyhound and Christian, is the reality breaking threshold.
Yes.
Because that's when we're talking about like time and space stuff.
Yeah, and enter different realms too.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's when shit gets crazy.
Opera Wonka is number 5. Opera Wonka is because of his factory, who he's kind of the chosen one.
Mm-hmm. And he's a little afraid of his own factory.
It does things. I can't control all that stuff. Wilfred Wonka, ours, is number 4. I don't think I include him on the part charts.
Of the ranking.
But I forgot we made him part of the ranking, which is wild. But he is number 4, everyone. Number 3 is Scott, which Scott doesn't really break reality. He only breaks reality in the sense that his factory is so huge. Do you know what I mean? So we have to take into account that we considered him above like Greyhound and stuff like that, you know?
Interesting.
But I understand why we did it, even though it doesn't really fit the reality breaking thing.
Yeah.
He just has so much power that, well, how could you not?
While he's a hot mess, he does seem one of the more put together Wonkas at the same time.
He has the power of empathy.
Yeah, like he has a way more emotional in tap than I think we've seen in a lot of other Wonkas.
Henry Wonka's number 2 because of the dreams. And then Roald Wonka is number 1. Even though technically Henry probably is above Roald, Roald has access to hell. And I don't even think Henry could dream that up. Like, I don't think... That's different. I don't think he could dream a realm into existence, you know?
Yeah, and Henry Wonka seems to be aligned with good, and Roald Wonka is chaotic.
Right.
Neutral?
And Roald has the Vita Wonka Vite, you know?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to beat hell, so...
Yeah, of
and
course.
to be the keeper of hell, so...
So, I don't know, do we want to make our first assumptions of where he'll end up, or do we just want to dive into it?
Let's just dive into it, because I feel like it's so up in the air for me right now. Like,
same. I don't know where I have him at.
Yeah.
So let's first talk about the candies he makes, because I feel like this is a good place to start. What does he like physically do? So he makes the hair repair eclair, which is hair growth. Now, a lot of Wonkas have done that. Johnny Wonka has done it. So he, you know, that's something to keep in mind. Then we have like hover chalks, which is flying. Again, not that crazy. He's doing it through, instead of harnessing bubbles, he's harnessing hoverflies. He does have a bit of a zoologist vibe more than any of the other Wonkas.
Yes, he really like farm to table cares more. Goes out and yeah.
We have acacia mint, which is just some shit giraffes like. Like, that's not anything crazy.
Yeah.
Then we're going to talk about like the experience ones. So we have Big Night Out, which simulates an entire hallucinatory night out.
So he's like a drug lord.
He is the most, all of his are the most drug-like, I would say.
Yeah.
Because most of the effects are mental rather than physical.
Yeah. And like, you've never had a chocolate like this. It's interesting. We do really enter more of the addictive qualities of his candy, which usually we think of candy as pretty safe. But honestly, if we think about it, Wonka can literally get people hooked on his stuff, especially if they're changing your outer appearance. If you enter the anti-aging business, you're fucking set. And he could totally do that, you know?
Right.
So that's an interesting thing to consider with those.
Right. So you have, you have Big Night Show, which simulates an entire hallucinatory night out to the point where like, they're seeing things, they're participating in it. Mm-hmm. It's layered through different drinks, too. Which also, I've never realized this. Wonka has to be a huge partier to even understand how to put that together.
Yeah, I mean, he knew the whole thigh poem ready to go.
Right.
You know, like, he's seen some things. If he's been traveling by boat with no money, he's seen some things with some sailors. He's gone to Tortuga. You know what I mean? Like, he's gone to pirate dens.
Wonka used to fuck, but then he got cleansed by some sort of spirit who said he can't anymore. I don't know what that means, but like...
This is so wild to say. I get the vibe that Wonka, like, had a relationship with an older woman, and then he really learned from that experience, and now he's, like, calm and, like, knows his own worth, but, like, that was a period of his life. Why does that fit so well?
I think we've said this for a while.
Have we?
God, I'm just having flashbacks to that fucking Tumblr post. Do you remember that?
Oh my God, yes. Oh.
Was that on the podcast?
Whoa, that was. I think it was.
Oh,
yeah, I think it got bleeped. You didn't read the whole thing, but...
it was so bad.
It was really so bad. Oh my God.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. That has nothing to do with this, though.
Yeah.
Power ranking had relationship with older woman and learned from it. Now wiser? Question mark.
Interesting. Capable of potentially a healthier relationship. Who's to say?
But the other one. So then we have the like drugs, which is giraffe milk macaroons, which seem to instill confidence. And then silver linings, which is essentially fast action Zoloft, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, not Zoloft really, but like I mean, it makes you see the positive side of things. That's like brain chemistry stuff,
Yeah, these are like antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds, like Xanax, kind of,
which
if you think about
it. I don't think any of the Wonkas have done, right? Like, that feels new to me.
No, like mood changing. I'm trying to think of if we've had any other like mood changing. And I just think it's more like, look, this bird popped out of this chocolate egg, and,
Or like physical effects, like you'll jump 80 feet into the air.
Yeah, we've never
mean?
dealt with the emotional changes, which is interesting considering Wonka is such an has a lot of emotional baggage, right? Like, I would say a lot of our Wonkas have emotional baggage. Gene, who's to say? But I feel like in a lot of ours, you can kind of find these little things. And so to have a Wonka who is actually ready to like get in touch with emotions, we have more of a psychological Wonka here.
Yeah. And then there's also, so Broadway show, we have to decide whether we take this literally or metaphorically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this is the exact lyric that I pulled this out in the lyrics episode. The news that makes you gasp, the jokes that make you laugh, all that you say and do all day will be choreographed. Now, do we take them literally and say that this is choreographed for you, predetermined ahead of time? Or you're doing it in a way that is like choreography?
Yeah.
Because if we take them literally, it is a very different type of power. It
really is.
It's still powerful regardless. But is this, you are losing free will?
I feel like if we accept Big Night Out, I feel like we have to accept Broadway. Because Big Night Out, they do like go through all the emotions. Like, I don't know if they're supposed to feel like they're at the party. They're just going through the emotions of
the fact that he can control people's. I mean, he could make a candy that would be like, you experience the death of a loved one emotionally in this, which none of the other Wonkas have ever suggested they could do that, which is why that's the kind of reality breaking stuff, because we've only considered reality breaking the terms of like time and space of like, this is crazy that this would happen. But this is like, is the mind,
Yeah. And it's hard because it's in that giant dance scene, but we do have that scene where people look at him and he's just like, there's no music. He's just like weirdly dancing by himself in the square, which then makes it hard again to like think about it. But I feel like if we look just within, are they on like a trolley or a bus, whatever, when they like bust that out? I could see within just the bus, I can consider that maybe that is what's going on. It would beg the question then, if we accept it, that this whole entire batch, you have to then be connected with people in your vicinity. So like you would all have to like, he would be changing chemistry.
Maybe we look at the clip. Are they all doing the same thing? Because if they're all doing the same thing, then I think it's very powerful, right?
Yeah.
And I know this is a musical, and that's the hard part. But they've made it hard on us, listeners. I know you'd be saying, you're giving Timmy Wonka too much power here. But like, I don't know how else are we supposed to do this shit?
Exactly. If you can make a silver linings, you can make the opposite of that. That's the whole thing we have to look here, right? Like, he can do all these positives, but he could have an evil arc at any point, and also side effects.
I'm gonna take a look at the scene because all the things are on YouTube. God, sorry, he's in that stupid little postman outfit. Yep, they're all choreographed together. And wait, does he give them all the chocolate? Okay, he gives 2 people the chocolate. The people behind him also join in, and all the people in front of them also join in, who I have not seen been given all the chocolate. You know what I mean? Now, is this movie magic? Did they get it beforehand? But it looks like he's revealing them for the first time.
Maybe. I think if we want to do this, if we want to follow possibly this trail, is that as he's hopped onto this bus, right? So maybe he already went through the first crowd who was getting on the bus, and now he's hitting everybody else. So I think if we follow that, or if we want to let that amount of movie magic hop in here, I think if they are all doing the same
No, he is handing it out. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe it's just like some movie magic. Like we just have to pretend everyone on that trolley has had all the
I think we
candy.
can.
I think that's fair.
Not fair.
That's the intention. That's the intention they
Right.
probably had, right?
Sorry, his stupid face at the end of this. What a goober.
I can't wait to do the commentary track. It's going
I'm
to be
so
wild.
excited. It'll be fun.
So I think, okay, so here's the big consequence, right? It's like, obviously you're controlling people's bodies now and minds. If you can make people dance, you could make an army. You could make an army of people.
And that's the thing. They're coordinated. If they weren't coordinated, I'd put it down. But they're all doing the same thing.
They're all doing the same thing, which is either meaning that one batch is supposed to go within a certain, order of people, like a certain area of people, and they all react to each other, or whatever he has put in this candy can then react to another bloodstream that has this in it. And therefore a hive mind, if you will, or it's not a superpower, but when you walk in a room and you can feel a vibe change, you're like, "Ooh, that's weird," because like someone's like, you can just tell that people are like mad at each other, whatever that is, manipulated by candy, and he can like, you know what I mean? That's getting really wild. And so, yeah, if you can do that, like it's all fun and games, but toddlers and tiaras, don't let them have that candy. They'll never be free. They're going to always be doing patches.
Yeah, I like how that was your first
That was
thought.
wild. Army to toddlers and tiaras. That's
But no, I agree. It is on the surface level, like not that concerning, but if you think about it a little hard, and I don't think he would use it for evil, but he could. And that's the thing. Like, it's...
Again, kind of like we say, we don't leave the movie. I don't think Timmy Wonka, I would like to think he wouldn't take the same route with the Oompa Loompas the way they've done in the past.
Right.
But who's to say you also couldn't do that with the Oompa Loompas? He could give them the candy.
I do think, and I wrote this down later, I think we have to kind of up him up a little bit, because I'm like, if we follow the implications of this, he's the first Wonka to do this without some element of slave labor.
I mean, that's such a good point.
He does all this and he's doing it pretty ethically, which is something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, I have this thing called weird shit.
Oh, I love it.
The balloons.
Oh.
The balloons. The balloons cause an intellectual problem, right?
Yeah.
Because they're tied to a cart. The cart is probably heavier than Wonka and Noodle combined.
Yeah.
But Wonka grabs it and they float up. Now, I don't care. No amount of fucking helium in those balloons is going to do that. I don't know if you ever saw it. There was that video that Jenna Marbles did where she tried to get her dog to float and took like 80 balloons filled with helium. And her dog's like 3 pounds.
Yeah.
It's not, it couldn't work. So that has to be him, right?
Yeah. Well, and this is, again, like kind of like you were saying, we have to recommend some things like, is this just part of the world itself? Like,
right.
Can you just kind of do this shit? But I think you're right. So if he had a hover chalk, if he had popped one earlier and he can like figure out more how to microdose it, then he could do that, and it would just look that way. But it is hard to explain because that's
right. He's bringing Noodle along with him, which has not been, the hover chalks are not that powerful previously. And he also stops it at will so that they land on the dome. That's the thing. The hover chalks, you don't stop at will unless he knows how to specifically get the shit it out so quickly. Because it exits through your butthole, as we know. If he knows how to manipulate it through his rectum and get it out at the perfect time. But I don't think he does, right? Because I think they pick it up again and then go. So it's like, this is not...
Yeah.
And we could say movie magic, it's a dream sequence. But they show the flamingos how to fly, and then the flamingos leave the zoo and are in there for the rest of the movie, which proves that it did happen, right? Like, I'm not...
Yeah, exactly. And like, we have to look at the way that the other Wonka worlds have existed as well. Henry Wonka made chocolate goats and then he can manipulate all dreams. So we have to look in this world and see like what would be considered normal versus not normal. And then what did Wonka manipulate versus what, like, this is where, we've always wondered, does Wonka have magic or not? And it's very confusing. Like usually we don't really fully go
this
there.
Wonka comes close.
This Wonka could, and this Wonka might have some magic, but he's never considered, not everyone can do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it could be ignorance too here, like an ignorant power. Maybe that's how he first thinks like, I already do this. Let's make a hover chalk that makes it just fun for everybody and we can all get higher, up. And I could see him letting his guard down around Noodle to do this if this is what's happening, unless they've popped a big night out or something.
Right. And that is, I feel like if they popped a big night or popped a Broadway show, it would make more sense, but it still doesn't. It still doesn't work.
It doesn't. Yeah. The only thing is like if there's some other dream sequence kind of vibe candy.
And you can say this is happening during a musical sequence, so it doesn't count. But it's like, bitch, half the Wonkas are musical. We can't operate under that logic, right? We have to take this at face value.
Yeah. I'm willing to go with minor magic, if not specifically chemically engineered candy or something like that.
He has a bottle that is filled with a rainstorm, if we remember. An active rainstorm in a bottle. Which, again, we don't know. Is that normal for this world or just a him thing? But no one else in the movie is shown to do anything like this. No one has done, like, watching the film, no one does anything like this. Maybe it is normal in this world, but it's highly regulated or something. Or, like, just seen as very taboo. Maybe. But still... Yeah. You know, we don't not count the Tom and Jerry body swapping because it happens. Well, okay, I guess we do because we don't count it as reality breaking because it's happening in Tom and Jerry cartoon, even though it is reality breaking, arguably, but we can't put TJ Wonka that high up. It just feels wrong.
You know what? Magicians do shit all the time. You're like, how the fuck did you do it? But there's always a way. So, like, what if he
is planning and orchestrating all these things?
Yeah.
Which is also a level of power to be like, I'm going to ingratiate myself into this orphan's life by making a floating balloon show, you know? Which that makes him feel sinister, which I don't like.
Yeah, but he's like always wanted to be a magician. So I could see like, what if that's just a grander practical magic? Like he's just, what if Wonka's really logical here? He's really quick at solving and like seeing these kinds of things and like really quick on his feet, which does fit a lot of Wonkas. They're very witty. They are just constantly spouting out things. And obviously they have big imaginations and they create all these things. And you have to have a very like creative mind, but also a technical mind. So I could also buy if there was some way that he had done magic in terms of practical showmanship magic. I could maybe buy it. Like maybe there's a zip line or maybe there's whatever tethering pole. I don't know, whatever needs to be there. Like maybe there's something connecting the zoo exhibits or something. And then we don't see it.
Would you travel up a zip line?
Well, you know, if there's like a pole or a levee, something, you can like, you know, a little pulley system, like maybe there's something going on. I don't know. We don't see it, but I'm just saying that that could be like an option if we go with the practical magic option. But, you know, I'm kind of more into like, I think a candy could have gotten into it. I feel like that's our best bet.
I think so. The problem is we have more. Like, it's not just the balloon.
Yeah.
There's more appearances to talk about. For example, his infinite hat space.
Yeah.
His hat, he's able to pull an entire tea set out of.
He has a bag of holding, which is...
A bag of holding. In the book, it's implied he has a horse in there.
Yeah. So what do we do with that?
Exactly, because it's like...
And we have to learn too. He studied abroad. He eat, pray, loved to all these places that have wild things, right? Beasts that no one's ever heard of. Who is to say he didn't pick up some shit like magician and now he's got like the magic shit going on? Like he could have picked up some random shit that like makes sense in that land, but it seems like not a lot of people get to travel as far. So maybe it's still within the reality, but it just gets to be so new because he went out and found all these unique recipes. And so maybe he learned the skill of magic. And that's tied to his candy because then he can wield a rainstorm. Maybe if we go through the other things, we can come back to this and just see if we're able to piece more together. Because this one's really hard to figure out.
So he does the most hands-on inventing work we see out of any of the Wonkas. He does the most like physical labor because he's setting things up. And also if the movie is to be believed, because they didn't include the scenes where they remake over the scrub it and bleach your laundry place to make candy. They don't show that in the movie, which means that Wonka makes all of that himself out of his suitcase. And he makes a lot of candy throughout this movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's impressive. You know, it's enough he makes enough candy within like 3 fucking days to open that crazy store. Like they don't get into the logistics of how he does this, you know?
And we
watch him make a silver lining. He has to press all those buttons individually for each one. And also, he does not have a large supply of ingredients. And that's the other thing. Remember, he says, I ran out of giraffe milk. And she says, when did you milk the giraffes? And he said, I did once, which means he's been using the same giraffe milk for quite a long time, which means he must have some sort of preservational qualities because people aren't getting sick from the giraffe milk macaroons. As far as we know, they're fine, you know?
Yeah.
He's comfortable eating them.
You know, some people say there's a thin line between magic and science. So maybe we have the ultimate scientist here.
What about the factory at the end? Pure imagination.
Yeah. Maybe this Wonka just dissociates. We can go with that too.
But here's the thing. Hugh Galoopa during the scene goes, well, this is quite unexpected, as everything's building up around him. Which we can take that as he's watching Timmy Wonka have a dissociative maladaptive daydream episode, and he's watching it and goes, this is quite unexpected. Or he's building that entire thing in front of him.
Oh, okay. A big theme of that movie is daydreaming, right?
Right.
And so how do we explain all these dance numbers and stuff outside of the, the bus and the trolley and whatever? There is no reason that his shop, there's no way they would have been able to do that. Like, a lot of that stuff made no sense. Like, how could
But
they
they
do
also
that?
gave us no timeline. So it doesn't, it's
very
it's
true.
hard.
But I still find it hard that they resourced all that.
Yeah.
But what if his daydreams are able to have physical manifestations?
I feel like we're
and as he
making a
gets
big leap.
stronger, that, whatever really hits, that's what gets to stay, because the whole square dances with him.
Yeah, because nobody dances with him at the beginning, and then by the end of the movie, everybody is.
Because they weren't daydreamers. So the more people you get daydreaming with you, maybe it gets more powerful and stuff.
Mass hallucination?
Exactly. What if we're able to get
and
everyone
that
on
is
the
true.
same level?
That does fit with his effects on the mind.
Because what does the Oompa Loompa do? Hugo Loompa is constantly getting that chocolate. Who was constantly eating Wonka's chocolate? Even the chocolate cartel.
Oh, you're saying by eating the chocolate. And that's why he's like, Noodle, you've never had chocolate. You're going to have a lifetime supply. This makes him seem evil. But here's the thing. I don't think he knows.
No, I think this is his reality. And
I don't think this is, and he's like, people are finally getting the idea. And it's like, no, you're hypnotizing them, but not in a malicious way.
Yeah, no, it's benevolent ignorance kind of thing going on. Yeah.
Like, I truly don't have any desire to paint Timmy Wonka as a villain. I think it's
No. I think he's very good-hearted, and I think he goes on to be like a very good Wonka. And so he has all this power, but he does choose it for good. It does set him up to have some horrible foil later on.
Right.
The evil Candyman, even more evil than the chocolate cartel. But I think you're right. I think that then would set up, if Hugo Loompa's gone his whole journey and is now working with him on the chocolate, that therefore the daydreams could then create the factory, and Hugo Loompa would also then be seeing it. Because if Broadway candy can make everyone...
Hold on.
Hit me.
There's a thing in this movie where anytime anyone is like, I don't believe in your mission, Willie, they eat a piece of his chocolate and they're like, oh, I do. And we can take that literally as in his chocolate's fucking banger, or we can take it as they see his vision in that moment. They're experiencing part of his conscious. This is fucking crazy.
They enter the other realm that's within this realm.
There's a dream reality that's like an overlay on top of the world.
And he is
lives
pulling
there.
back the veil a little bit. He lives there. He's in that in between, but he
That's
doesn't
why his
know
mom's
that.
Irish and he's not. It's a dream world. It's a real.
And that's why he never bothered. Like, no one bothered to teach him reading, because you know. And he lived on a boat, which I don't even know what to do with the whole he lived on a boat thing. They really brushed over that, and I was
that's
like,
just fun.
That's just fun. But I'm like, what do you learn on a boat? Where do you go on a boat? Like, that's just a separate thing I need to figure out. But no, I think like he can get people to be on the same wavelength, not having their own daydreams, but everyone is they're all entering the same dream reality where these things can happen. And his candy might also sometimes push them to different impulses within that dream reality.
Right. And I guess the only thing is like the chocolate cartel, but then there's susceptibility to suggestion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are so built in the ways of rigidity that they're not going to, but they still experience it regardless,
Yeah. Yeah. And you could argue that maybe some of the ingredients in their chocolate, again, unknowingly in this environment, don't give out inspiration, because we don't really see anybody else eating their chocolate either. There's no child. I don't think so. I might very much be wrong, but I don't recall seeing people being like, I love the Fickle Grubber chocolate. I love this.
No.
We just know that they're there, but I don't recall anybody being so fanatic about it and being like, we got to bust down the doors here. Like, I think we only see people eating Wonka's chocolate. And that's interesting. That's interesting to consider.
True. And it is the perfect thing of like when he's about to die, he's like, well, I'm going to put this. And that's the thing. Wait, that's another thing. Remember when he's in the chocolate. Oh, why did I get scared? Why did I get scared? Why did I get scared? Why did this scare me? He's standing in the chocolate thing when they're about to die, right? And he says, well, if we're going to die, we're going to die in Wonka's chocolate. And he pulls out this bag.
Yeah.
And he just dumps stuff in. Why am I getting scared thinking about that?
What fucking spices would, you know?
That's always been like, what?
No, because then it's like
changing.
And this could be then the interesting flaw with all of this is that if you're so focused in this dream reality, you sometimes need to go back to the other reality, which Noodle then represents the positive, regular reality you can also still be in. Because she's like, no, let's find a way out of this.
And his
not
leaving Noodle is retreating fully to his dream reality. And I want to be clear, we're talking about, I don't think these are two separate realities. We're talking about a metaphorical experience.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, I do want to be clear. I don't think we're saying Wonka is on a different plane than them.
Oh,
like,
correct.
we're talking about existence, an experience of existence.
Yes.
And
perception.
Damn.
No, because then that would explain. And then again, Hugo Loompa is kind of like, he's not quite the chocolate cartel. He's not fully in one reality. He's just focused on like, this is what I need. And so he's malleable. I would say that his chocolate never forced him. Well, because we don't know if he actually ever fully eats the chocolate, but we can assume that he has had a lot of the cocoa bean, the main source, right?
And no, the way that Wonka convinces him to stay on board is to be a taste tester, too.
Yes. And so then that would totally connect how then they would go easily into business together.
Maybe he becomes aware. I don't actually believe this is true, but maybe he becomes aware of his own abilities, and that's why he never delivers Noodle's lifetime supply of chocolate.
Yeah. And Hugo Loompa, we got to recall, he got rejected from Loompa Land. So he is in the same boat as Wonka.
Exactly.
He has nothing else. And here is the offer to live this magical life that you can have. Magical in terms of, wonderful life, awe-inspiring
life. And that's the
life.
thing. These magical things are happening. It's just affecting physical reality. And the other things are they're buying into the reality and allowing the physical effects to happen to them,
I almost relate it to the world finally discovered the color purple. It was maybe there, but people never thought, oh yeah, or like magenta.
He can see extra colors like shrimp can, And maybe that's why he's never learned how to read. He's had difficulty with it because he has so much other stuff going on. You know what I mean? This makes sense. Now, we do have to say, minus point in the power ranking, he cannot read, but he can by the end of the movie. And that's his willingness to learn. So,
yes, which is, having a willingness to do such a thing does beat a lot of Wonkas in terms of humbling and having friends. That's something we should also...
And we're going to talk about that in a second.
Okay, solid.
That's... Oh my God, another thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, we think about it. When he's coming off that boat, he's the chef on the boat. He's the chef on the boat in the movie. Everyone in the boat is bought into his song in the beginning and doing stuff in cohesion with the song. And as soon as he leaves, that cohesion is gone, right? He's coming from a world where he's accepted. He's had his influence. People see things his way. He leaves the boat. People are not there with him. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And because he's so in this other world focus, and like we said, he's not as technical in the reality, why wouldn't he use that to get more money than 12 silver sovereigns? He should. He doesn't know.
Think about one.
He doesn't know. And he also just is so, again, focused on everything else, because you would think...
He's doing that thing that people who are bisexual do, where they're like, well, everybody's this way. No, they're not, bestie. That's... it's that same thing. Where he's like, well, this is how everyone must experience this. Is Wonka bisexual? No.
Oh my God. That's a whole separate... We'll go to Tumblr for that answer.
So yeah, social capital and lived experience is my final category of things to review. He's genuinely likable and does seem to forge bonds with people. Does he sabotage them? At times, but he does create them,
Yes.
He's not mean to anybody. He seems to have a better control on his temper than any of the other Wonkas. So he has traveled the world and he's met a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So that's that. And he does seem to also have there's the zoological stuff as well, which is...
Animals
new.
like Wonka.
Yeah. And that's a first. We've talked about how we think animals in Wonka are fucked up. He made it less fucked up in this, but that is the first where Wonka has a strong animal that is not antagonistic to him,
Yeah.
Because the goats were antagonistic to Henry.
And we joked about how Wonka could never have a cat, but I think Timmy Wonka could happily have a cat.
Yes, he could. I could see it. He could live. I don't know. There's a lot of little things. I mean, we've also said that I think of any of the Wonkas, the one that he reminds me the most of is Scott. And we've said this before, and I'll say it again.
Yeah.
And, you know, Scott has that whole like society built underground in a way that I could actually see Timmy Wonka potentially doing, you know, like having this like squirrel business dynamic, you know, I could see him doing something like that.
Yeah, especially if he has that connection with animals.
The mass hallucination. I'm trying to think of more evidence for this because I know there's more. There's got to be more because there's a lot in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. His dancing on a pole. He can't actually dance on a pole, but like maybe, you know, maybe it probably didn't look like that. But when he like hops off that truck, you know, and everyone's like, goodbye, Willie, you know, like that's very.
People are bought in.
Yeah. Land ahoy. That's not what they say. But, you know, that's a separate beef I have is land ahoy pisses me off.
He does have
so
some
much.
sort of safety net, I believe, too, it feels like throughout this film. Some sort of safety net. He doesn't seem like he can be injured from falling. Or at least has no fear of it between the 3 ladders and him being on that giant crow's nest at the top of the movie. He is not concerned about falling from a great height.
How often does he take silver linings? You know, because like
that is
imagine
a great point.
1 chocolate is silver linings, but imagine if you had like 5. And is he just constantly trying to find the silver lining? And so therefore a flaw could be that he has, like he still seems like he has fear, but I never got like he's terrified. I got more like,
no.
Oh, what do I do? This isn't good. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, he did look pretty spooked when he got his head shoved underneath the water. But he did still believe it was an accident for a minute. Like when Hugo Loompa smacks him in the face. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and maybe that's a moment where it's such a harsh physical sensation. It snaps him out of that moment, you know, and that explains like his mom's crusty old Wonka chocolate bar. That's something interesting we could talk about as well, and his relationship to that.
I mean, that does keep the preservation thing in mind. He does have some sort of ability to preserve things. I'm trying to think, what are the stuff he gathered in his travels? Because he said there was a bunch of places.
Oh,
he
and
had
the lyrics.
The tears of a Russian clown, you know?
Yeah, that's wild.
Like, where did he get that from? Number one.
And that's in a weird way, like manipulating an emotion. You know, tears suggest it was sad. Or it could be like laughing so hard that you cry.
He's also able to convince the hoverflies to go into the hover chocks, right?
I think so.
To make as many as he does throughout this movie, you would have to assume that he has some sort of breeding thing for the hoverflies, right?
Yeah.
Where the fuck is he keeping that, right? Is it in his hat? Because it has to be in his hat. Because all he has in this movie is his tattered overcoat and battered suitcase and a pair of leaky boots up on his feet. So if he only has those things and his hat, it's gotta be all up there, right?
Which we know from the movie novelization, he got from a magician, right? Like that entire outfit used to be a magician's, which could suggest that we had this whole teaching experience we missed out on. Or maybe he just learned that like, oh yeah, this hat randomly has this in it. That's weird. And you know, whatever that might mean. But yeah, we can't ignore the hat for sure. The hat that we fucking hate holds possibly the most power.
Right. Because I was going to say like maybe it's practical magic pocket dimension, but like also it can't be because where is he getting these things?
The horse is really the most damning evidence.
I mean, that's in the book, so I don't think we can use it.
Okay, that's fair.
I feel like we can't. But I think the horse could be a button he presses to play a horse noise. Honestly, that one is more believable for me. But I'm thinking about realistically the materials he has to make this amount of chocolate cannot be. And if you remember in his room, he has like all these fucking like vials and shit outside of the suitcase. Yes. There's more than just the suitcase. And that has to be in his hat because where else is it?
Yeah, it's the hat and the suitcase, which again, like you've said, the suitcase is not that big. Like
and
it can fold out, but it's not.
You see everything that could be in it. So like,
do you know who else's suitcase fucking opens like that?
Hugo Loompa.
Which is interesting. That's pretty interesting to consider and think about. You know who also has kooky inventions? Hugo Loompa with his fucking jetpack.
Is Hugo Loompa a mirror of Timmy Wonka?
Oh,
is Hugo Loompa the older woman reincarnated? I'm joking.
Is Hugo Loompa real? Because the noodle at the end, of course, is finally like, oh, you do exist, but this is after all the candy.
If she's taken
all the candy, then you finally do see the orange man was like
hallucinating it because he's eating his own candy.
Because it's his own candy, and it's like that part of himself.
I think this is too far. I think this is too far.
But I do enjoy
Hugo Loompa is real. Hugo Loompa is real. but he could not be.
There's this little the fact that you could.
There's a hope for us to believe that he's not real, which would be such a gift to
please.
us. Oh my! Please erase him.
It's an interesting theory that the fact that it's even possible to throw it out there is wild. But yeah, so we have an empathetic Wonka who is able to healthily maintain relationships. And even though near the end he backs away, it's not because he's betrayed them or run away. Like, he's made sure like all ends are, closed, and he still seems like sad, but then he's like, and now I'll turn into this thing that I'm, strong at. But yeah, the way that all the candies can manipulate other people. And again, it's all for good. But just because it's for good doesn't mean it can't easily twist into bad.
I mean,
again,
Big Night Out isn't really for good. He makes them cry during it.
Yeah. And he uses it to get his way, which thankfully we all as an audience agreed was like, sure, we need this to be done. But,
right.
We're doing this all through his lens also.
Exactly.
Is he a reliable narrator at that point? But I do think he is. I think he's a good guy. But it's interesting because powerful doesn't mean bad.
No,
powerful can be good, and I think he does a lot of good.
He gets couples together, like he helps people.
Yeah,
Wonka takes down Big Pharma, but it's
yeah. No, it's interesting, and it's curious to see like if that's what Scrappy Wonka could do before he had a giant fucking factory. What does this like fully grown adult? And that's where we really have to think about like, yes, this is all the shit we have in the prequel,
because that's what we need to talk about. Do we take him at face value? He's supposed to be 18 to 20. We need to take this at face value, right?
Yeah.
And if we take it at face value, he's still pretty high. But if we consider growth contingency, because he is considerably earlier in his career than any other Wonka we've talked about. So I think we have to, because as a figure, like, yes, but I think we have to consider that these powers at this point, if they're rivaling some of the big heavy hitters, we need to probably bump him up, because that's not his end. He's not ending here. You know, this is his start. This is when he's shitty. What the fuck is he going to be like when he's good? That's the scary
And
part,
also, it's just been him. It's been one person working on this. And he's like, he learned things from his mom, and I'm sure he like picked up things from other people, but he has been solely the only person making all of these candies. And he's the one who's come up with all of them. So imagine now he's partnering with someone else who knows a lot about chocolate, and he's going to have workers at the factory to help, you know what I mean? Like, what's he going to look like when he can mass produce this and also have a lot more backing? Like an idea, the brainstorm room and stuff, and like coming up with new ideas. And, the more, and I assume if you're in the factory, you're also more in this, like the dream reality, the dream state, so to speak. You're buying in more, because you're surrounded by it. And that then leads us to the chocolate room. And that's how that chocolate room can be so intense.
Powerful.
And I don't think, in my view, honestly, because I know a lot of people were trying to see if there were any nods to like the golden ticket or anything. I don't see Timmy Wonka following the regular Wonka.
I don't either.
Story.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Happening. I can see him being like recluse for a bit.
I literally genuinely, I can't think of the fucking Violet Beauregard thing. That can't happen with Timmy Wonka.
No,
it can't imagine it would.
He is more put together than Gene Wonka's inventions, and arguably Johnny Wonka's inventions.
He's kind of got his shit together.
The only time his candies don't work is when someone fucks with his recipe.
Exactly. Now, granted, he's bringing them to market, and those people are doing things before they're ready and going outside the bounds.
Very true. Very true. We don't see that, so that's fair.
But like, I don't know. It is interesting because I think Timmy Wonka, I think he would stop them.
Yeah.
From taking things. Because, wait, if you think about it, do you remember when the giraffe milk macaron, when they poisoned the Yeti sweat? They poisoned the thing with Yeti sweat. Yeah. He, as soon as he figures out what's happening, yells at everyone, stop eating. Like, he is like grabbing shit out of people's hands, right? Like, he's making people stop.
He's not running away. He's not trying to joke it off. He is not pushing. I mean, technically someone else did, but that's not his immediate thought is like, oh, how dare they? His immediate thought is the safety of everybody, and that he wants his candy to have good quality, and he cares that he likes that it makes people happy and brings them joy.
Exactly. And now, granted, we could see that being beaten down out of him, but it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. If this bitch is, obviously he's popping his silver linings every morning. Does he just stop? Is that how
Right?
his change is saying is like, oh, he just stops taking silver linings? No, that doesn't make sense. Like, I agree with you. I don't think he does the golden ticket plot. I could see him helping someone like Charlie out, but I feel like he'd do it through like a fucking internship program. Like, he's not, because obviously money is not his interest.
No, he offers change back in chocolate.
Now, granted, offering chocolate back is an incredible money-making strategy.
It is so genius.
But that is obviously not his motivation. Clearly, we see that it's not. His motivation is to spread his chocolate and his family's legacy to the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, the golden ticket search does nothing. I guess it gets more people to buy it.
Yeah. The only thing I can consider would then just be Charlie Bucket is able to have so many like grand ideas of what his life could be because he enjoys Wonka's chocolate so much. I don't think he ever gets involved, really. I mean, maybe he does, but yeah, I don't see this. He needs a golden ticket because I think Wonka could find someone to take over the business easily. And I think he would happily be like, I'm at peace with this.
No, I don't see him doing this bullshit.
No, he's not into
if
trickery.
It's passing off, it's being passed off in the Christian Wonka way where like he gets a letter that's like a paper airplane of Charlie's notes, and then he's like, this kid's got it. Like that I could see happening.
Because he has access to change plumbing. We got to think about that. He tried to get chocolate in Noodle's house in the novelization. I guess we don't see this in the movie, but you know. He made sure everybody in his life did end up with a happy ending, right? Because like Abacus gets to go back to his family, and Noodle, like I don't think he would have.
I can't imagine him getting beat down. I don't think he can, which is one of the problems with the movie is you can't believe this character becomes Wonka, but I didn't want him to be. I didn't want him to be
either. Because again, I think it's more like, you know, there are phases in our life where there are people in our life for a certain amount of time, and it's not even a bad thing. It's just sometimes like things change and they shift. Right. And these people, they needed each other in that time, and they're still like, you know, I'm sure they would be happy to see each other and stuff, and years could go by and they could probably pick up where they left off. But this is just, that was the closing of Wonka's chapter. Oh my goodness. And now we're into the next chapter. Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel have we covered like a lot of the main sticking points?
So now we need to figure out. So number one, does he break reality? Yes. I feel bad saying that, but the answer is yes, I think. Because no one else has this amount of... And if we are buying into our mass hallucination theory, I think the answer is yes.
I think that does technically break reality.
Because if it was individual hallucinations, fine. But there's a level of collective buy-in, and I know everybody, this is a stretch. Again, 2.5 years, let us have this.
Give us this.
So, what do we think? Greyhound Wonka, number 6, above or below? Greyhound Wonka has the Wonkanizer, and that's pretty much it, if I remember. So, Wonkanizer allows teleportation through time and space, which is a huge power, but a very different power. It's like apples to oranges, what I feel like.
He himself can go and do these different things in different worlds, so I guess it just matters about, like...
I remember you had a lot of beef with Greyhound Wonka because it was not controllable. Like, it was very prototype.
Yes, which like arguably I guess he could like make it better, but you know, that seems like that would be a very long time coming. So, okay, I think that's interesting to consider.
Right.
And also like, what does that really mean? Like, that's a really strong power to do that, but I guess we're having to look now at like, what does that power actually turn into? Like, you can do that, but like, is there anything else that can happen?
There's no evidence of a butterfly effect. That's a great point. There's no evidence of a butterfly effect. All that happens with it is the Wonka children go to a place, and it's not even traveling through time and space. It seems to be accessing a different reality because they like walk around a corner, and it's like, also now I was in the savannah and I walked 8 feet and now I'm on a pirate ship. Like, this is an alt reality.
And then like, wasn't there an Alice in Wonderland section or something?
Yeah. Okay. Wait. So I think we were taking that literally, and I think this is accessing a similar dream state. If we take it as accessing a dream state instead of the traditional Wonkanizer, which I think is actually probably more accurate to what it is, because you're meeting fucking mermaids and shit, and sometimes you travel, but then other times you don't, and you can talk to cheetahs and shit. So like, that's a dream reality. Are we agreed on that? So if we,
but it has to be a singular. It's only one person is having it.
Entity.
Yeah,
right. Wonka communicates. There's no control over the thing, and it is not. And I argue that is less powerful than an overlay on the world.
And I think it's harder to get everyone to have a Wonkanizer than it is to get everyone to eat a little chocolate to also have that same experience. So I think he is more powerful than our little Wonkanizer Wonkas, I guess, at that point.
Opera Wonka, above or below?
So his factory is alive, but
his actual candies are shit.
Yeah.
I feel like he's above because, like, you know, Timmy Wonka. Now, we don't know if Timmy Wonka is the controller of this reality. I don't think he is, but I think he has access to something other people's don't, which is the same as Opera Wonka. But Timmy Wonka's not scared of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Timmy Wonka has more control.
This.
Yes.
It would be like if he was like, my factory is alive and here's how to make the best of it. Like in LinkedIn talk. You know what I mean? Then we'd be in conversation. But I feel like he's above Opera, right? Because Opera doesn't do anything with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's like power also, I think, can extend to like how much can it affect things. So I feel like within the factory, there's a lot of power, but like it seems outside of the factory, it's just the chocolate. So unless you enter this secret factory, then you're like, whoa. But yeah. And we don't know too much about like, you know, I don't think Opera Wonka, again, like Johnny Wonka's factory doesn't have like all this like secret shit back there with like all that stuff. So I agree with that ranking.
Next up is Wilford. He's above Wilford. Wilford's a hot mess. Yeah, the reason Wilford's that high is because we've implied he has access to Minus Land, which meant we couldn't really put him any lower. So, like, we didn't want to put him that high, if I remember, but we looked at the things we made. We were like, he turned a man into a vinyl record. And he made someone. He did have. Now there's a dream theme. I'm noticing a dream theme. He had Paul from Dune enter the dream of.
And he got stuck.
Violet Beauregard and got stuck. Or he got the dream of Mike TV and got stuck. But that's one person. That is one person experiencing these dreams. That's a
one-person experience. It's not everybody is on the same train. So he's above. He's above that Wonka.
Scott. So Scott, part of the reason he was so high is because of his emotional capability and because his factory was insane. But the reason, I don't know if we can put Timmy below him because we don't know what Timmy's factory looks like. If the entire thing is funded on his ability to like have these sub-societies, like that was why. It was because his factory is so huge. He has a Saharan desert in it. He has all these other things. It is power, but the power is contained to the factory. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't like that he's going this high.
I kind of don't like it either, but like...
But I believe in it.
And Timmy Wonka has a lot of healthy relationships, and he's still a hot mess.
Okay, one thing I do want to know.
Yeah.
Could the no daydreaming policy be because this is a repeat issue? Have other people done things like this?
And that's why the cartel has snuffed them out. That's a really good...
Is this an issue in that world in general?
Maybe.
But I still don't think we can count them lower. Like,
and we don't have enough evidence.
And
really
I was like, but that's speculation. And I'm like, as if all the rest of this is an insane fucking speculation.
2.5 years, this means literally nothing. This means absolutely nothing.
But I don't think that really takes it out because if he's the one to get it to stick, that's still really powerful. He's almost a revolutionary leader at that point, which is a different kind of power. So it's like, you know, regardless...
I think Timmy Wonka is
above Scott.
Yeah, I think he's above Scott just because, again, I think he's more emotionally available. And again, he already has such powerful candies and he's working out of a fucking suitcase.
Timmy Wonka knows who his mom is. Scott doesn't.
Yep.
Forgot about that. The orphanage, the nun orphanage. I just remembered that fun detail about Scott.
Oh my God.
You remember he was raised by nuns? Forgot about that.
I totally forgot about that. Oh my God.
And also, he's in like Wisconsin or fucking Duluth, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
All right. Henry Wonka. Now, I never thought I never thought this would be a battle, but I genuinely think we have to think about this. Okay. So Henry Wonka, the dream experience, which is crazy that this all come down to dreams, but the dream experience is you go into a dream and you physically manifest the objects from that dream. And we said that, but what is Timmy Wonka doing if not that? Because we've said he's having these dreams affecting physically on the world, but I don't think it's that. It's some sort of like different not altered consciousness. It's not fully a dream. You know, it's not.
No, it's just
there are obvious rules still to what happens within this expanded ability provided by his candies, you know?
He says it himself. He has a hat full of dreams.
And you know what? That's the other thing. There is a level of private to have a full dream that is like all encompassing seems to need to be a private experience for Timmy Wonka. Do you know what I mean?
We can also think of it as like athleticism.
With Big Night Out.
You know, like you can have casual runners, but then you have like speed runners and people who are like in the Olympics, you know?
Exactly.
So we could have these people, like you said, like we have these level of dreams, whatever, and we're like all used to this level. And Wonka is just like a groundbreaker and he's able to go beyond it. So yeah, if we buy into like that is just kind of casually part of the reality.
Or low level magic, yeah.
Yeah. So, but is it enough to beat Henry Wonka?
Okay. If we take it up from a magic perspective, there is magic that exists in the world, but only certain people are able to harness it. Do you know what I mean? If we take this metaphor, daydreaming is the way that people in this world are able to conceptualize. I know, are able to conceptualize the magic. Okay, that's how they conceptualize it, right?
Yeah,
they call that daydreaming because it is some sort of day and dream element, but it's actually a low current of magic that is able to be accessible, right? Wonka is able to harness that magic and spread its powers to people. They do not have individual control over it, but they are able to access its abilities briefly.
Yes.
And over time can have access to that undercurrent of magics themselves through the repeated taking of it. He doesn't know he's doing that, but that's another way to look at it, which I think is a little bit more coherent than our daydream separate reality overlay shrimp colors.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. And then with Henry Wonka, he's focusing just on dreams. Your subconscious, that is where he thrives, is the subconscious.
But he can't control them because he doesn't have harnessing of it because his dreams he keeps dreaming of all these chocolate goats who keep eating his coats, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lack of control. Now, I don't think Timmy Wonka has full control because obviously he doesn't have full control of the fucking world. It's just a magic element.
Yeah.
But he can't make anything.
Did Henry have actual dream reality? I think our idea was like he could control reality. If he can create things just with like his thoughts. I think that was an argument we had thrown in there.
You sat in a big chair or something, and as you slept, what you dreamt, the things from your dream would happen in this room. So it is a room specific thing. But the power of it in general, we're saying he could dream up a hover chalk. But could he dream up a hover chalk that has the same properties? We don't know because all that was dreamed up was...
know.
But like you could dream up horrors beyond imagination.
Yeah, I think that's the hard thing is like you're allowing other people and to be able to create a physical thing from nothing, essentially. From your thought, create a physical thing.
Right.
You know, and I'm not saying that that's more powerful necessarily than like harnessing ingredients, but that is something to consider is like accessing the mind directly.
It's tricky because I think it is more of a... Henry Wonka is a very like pointed power. Like it is very specific and very like you are in this room and in this room insane shit happens. Whereas Timmy Wonka is technically less powerful, but it is so spread that it makes it difficult. Do you know what I mean? Because it is again, this is never going to be for mass consumption, whereas Wonka seems to be, if you follow our insane fucking logic. And that's the thing, is the reason Timmy Wonka is so high is following our insane theory, and Henry Wonka, that is undoubtable. So that's the other thing. But I don't know is the thing. Like I still don't feel confident saying Timmy's below Henry because there's parts of me that's like, but is he?
For me, I'm getting tripped up on the fact that even if it's not super mass consumable, we're assuming maybe this is modern day. A lot of people like nighttime meditations and bedtime stories. And so if you're in this room, assumingly this is a thing people want, they're paying money for it.
But he wants to use it, I think, only for inventing new candies. That's what he wants it for, is my understanding. Like, I don't think it's designed for that purpose.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to talk Henry down, but I'm thinking
he doesn't have to have candy to be powerful.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the thing.
I think that's the point, is theoretically he could dream something up with the powers of Timmy, and that's the thing. And Timmy's never topping rolled because obviously he fucking can't. He doesn't have Minus Land. Like if they put out a sequel and he's like, he's going to hell, then yeah, we'll think about it.
Would Henry have access to hell at some point? Could he tangentially, like not as strongly as rolled, but could he get close? I think that's something we like, who can get close enough to hell?
Who can get closest to hell? Okay, I don't think he could. This is the confusing thing because Henry, when he summons things, he does not control them to the point where like Charlie Bucket summons a flying version of his grandparents' bed and it like flies all around the room and almost like kills him. You know, like that's what happens in it, which is a sense of power, but it's unharnessed, right? And then you have Timmy Wonka who, through his control of all this other stuff, not that he has access to the dream thing, but like if we're talking in a reality, if you had a combo of the two of them, you'd be fucking crazy to have all Timmy's powers plus the dream, because you'd have this like insane level of control. So I think the psychological states controlling that Wonka can do is just so unique.
Yeah. But they both have these elements just in different ways they use it, I feel like, is the other thing. It's like he has access into your mind, Henry Wonka.
Right.
Like point blank. Like if he can make you do that, he has access to your entire mind.
Timmy Wonka can't. Timmy Wonka can't see your mind.
And you're only into it as long as you can eat the candy and be around the environment. It's assumed that if the candy goes away and if the environment goes away, you go back to the dream veil has gone away with Timmy Wonka. Henry Wonka, it's assumed that he can just get on.
Well, it is in a specific room. It's in a specific room from far away, locked in. It is a big chair, if I remember. There's like some cotton candy clouds.
Could you think of hell?
He like watches in a towel. I don't think he could summon hell.
I don't think he could summon hell, but
because he doesn't have choice of what is summoned, if that makes sense, from the dreams.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is they are just your dreams. You don't think it's what his dreams, it has the power to do horrible things of like, if you have a nightmare, but I don't think you could summon hell.
Yeah.
Do I need to look up I didn't think we'd be talking about Henry this much.
No, I mean, I'm trying to like the only thing I'm thinking of is if you have access to basically anything you can think of to an extent, maybe philosophical things can't happen. Hell is, in this realm, philosophical in a way, except for Rold. He has actual access. We see it. We have evidence. Otherwise, no one knows about, is hell real? We have no, they don't have the physical evidence. Timmy Wonka can try to get people to think a thought, but it's going to have to be through a candy, and it's like big night out. He didn't go, Simon and Barnaby, you're going to specifically think about your ex-girlfriend from like chemistry class in 5th grade.
But I don't know. He's like, this is when it gets sad. You need to do this thing,
Yeah, well, he knows the stages of emotions.
No,
but he's not making the specific.
It's a controlling of emotional states. Right?
Yeah, where Henry could make the specific narrative.
He can't. That's what I'm saying. He can't.
But if he can make you think of anything, though, that's the thing. Like,
no,
right?
He
like
can't
the
control it. He can't control it. It's just when you sit down and dream, whatever you dream becomes a reality. So if I were to have a dream about like a giant crate, a big giant crate would show up. You know what I mean? He can't control it because his whole gripe is he's like, I keep summoning all these chocolate goats. I don't want the chocolate goats, right?
So I guess the question is, does that fucking power itself oversee the fact that he can't fully control it, but the power is still there? I think then is our finally tech. I think that's going to have to determine then like how we feel about that. And if we go with our Wonkanizer argument, which is it could be powerful, but it's not.
Well, the Wonkanizer really convinced me by the dream reality. That was what convinced me to move it over,
Yeah. So if we go by that, then
is it a cop-out to make it a tie?
I was going back and forth on that because I do really think that
I feel like it's kind of a cop-out, but it feels like comparing apples to oranges because they are powerful in such different ways. And it is similar, Timmy Wonka has control over psychological states in a sense of, and not exact control, but neither does Henry. They both have a power that is inexact but powerful.
Yeah.
I've also never considered, yes, he can make anything in the world, but like, will those things behave the way he want them to? Or is it a pure physical representation of an object? Because like he summoned a goat that acts like a goat, but can he summon a chocolate that has these insane powers?
Yeah.
And then will he be able to summon enough? And because it's reliant on your dreams, which you can't control unless that's all he does. I guess he could lucid dream and do that.
I think what we have to do is we have to go with power wielding. So that is a great power to do all of that. And even if he can't control people's thoughts, that is such a huge fucking power to be able to get people to do that. But if you can't control that power, how much power do you have over it? But then how much? But it's just hard because
I feel like it has to be a tie because I don't feel okay making either of them. I
cannot figure it out. Yeah, I think it's so even.
And I feel like I don't feel okay putting Timmy above Henry, but I don't feel okay putting Timmy below Henry either. Like neither of it feels right.
Yeah, I'll say I feel like I could be inclined to, if I had to, I would say Timmy just below Henry, but it doesn't feel comfortable. I'm not comfortable with it enough.
I agree. Like if I had to pick one, I'm more on that side, but I'm not comfy about it. And then there's the growth contingent. There's the growth contingent.
The growth contingent. We just don't.
And we talked about the growth contingent where we were like, where if it's up in the air, he's supposed to go up. Now I don't feel okay with that, but that's why I feel like it has to be a tie.
All comes back to the fucking balloons. What's up with the balloons? Okay, that's fucking crazy because that's it, and that's wild. I know it's going to be controversial, but I am good with a tie. I think
it's a tie.
We have enough information to go any further.
Yeah,
with that, I approve of a tie.
One more thing. This won't change anything. We've been talking about a growth condition. Have we ever considered the Wonkas get worse as they age? I've never thought about this. Maybe they get worse.
We had talked about at one point how, he's entered kind of like a little, he's been chipper or whatever, but like as you get older, you do get a little more bitter. So we were thinking like we can see where they're falling. If
it's
this
like
is
how
like
people get more conservative as they age.
Kind of, yeah. But so that's the thing. It's like, and then we have to go, Paul King kept saying like it's kind of a prequel, but not quite. Which means, it's kind of Gene Wonka, but we don't go to Gene Wonka is sort
Obviously,
of what
you
my intention.
Can't. What a fucking letdown.
Right?
Wise.
So like he could get bitter, but we have no idea. And based on what we have, it sounds like he's got a happy option. He's going to have a friend in there.
He just learned how to read. He's going to get to the joy of.
He got his dreams. And he feeds off of his dreams. And
he's going to get his bachelor's.
He's getting his bachelor's now. But like, and a lot of people are like, oh, I made my dreams, now what? But he's just like, oh, and this and this. So even though it's sad, again, like he can be sad in that moment, but that was a really fulfilling chapter of his life. He got to say goodbye to his summer camp friends.
The magic of the chocolate is the people you share it with. The magic of the chocolate is the people you share it with. The magic of the chocolate is the people you share it with.
Oh, Timmy Wonka just appeared. Oh my God.
I'm just thinking about it. We're talking all about how it's the hive mind, and the magic of the chocolate is the people that you share it with.
That's crazy.
Now, if we talk about the magic harnessing theory.
It has to be a tie. We have to be free of this.
It's a tie.
Felicia, we have to be free. Oh my God.
Timmy Wonka and Henry Wonka are tied for third. And I remember I predicted he'd be like around the Greyhound Christian area. So that is quite higher than I thought.
I didn't think he'd be going toe to toe with Henry at first, but then we unfurled this theory in this episode,
which I think may be our magnum opus.
Truly, how fitting to have this moment.
You know what?
Now.
I feel like this was earned to be our final pre-finale episode. I feel like we really made
it was the
most
ultimate test because we had to learn about all the other Wonkas so in depth to be able to really apply a lot
argument.
of arguably a lot of stupid deep thoughts about it. That were well crafted based on the knowledge we have gained over 2.5 years. So I feel like, again, we are so fair to say it's a tie because of the facts we have in front of us and 100%. How beautiful to get to do this. So I feel at peace with this and I'm ready to be fucking free of it at the same time.
Same. And I'm proud of us because I feel like we have not really established a insane theory about the movie yet. That it seems to be our bread and butter, that I'm happy that we got into it.
And what I'm excited for, guys, is the commentary track we're going to have now when we watch the movie. We're going to have...
it's going to be us confirming our biases.
We're going to see how we feel about it. Yeah, that's going to be the entire bias. We're going to be like, yeah, look at the balloons. Okay. When does he untie it from the cart? Is there a cutscene? Are they the same balloons?
You're going to get to join us on that and watch us as we realize there's some major holes in our theory. No.
Yeah, it just all comes crumbling down.
We don't know that yet.
Yeah, we don't know. We have no fucking idea. So that'll be really interesting to see, though, how that all shakes out. So. But hey, there it is. Those are our Wonkas. God. And that's the power.
Good. I feel good.
I feel really good, too.
Good to do.
I feel relieved.
Yeah.
I feel like it all kind of had a purpose. Like it's not that important, but like it finally had a purpose and all of that learning, we weren't just goofing.
It was something.
Gaffing. Like there were points.
We really thought. We developed a theory about a magical undercurrent on the world. Right? Not a dream reality, not the shrimp colors, a magical current.
Paul King's too afraid to say it in the interviews because he's like, no one's going to get it. But don't worry, Polly. We got you. We understand.
Have you heard about the insane magical undercurrent shrimp colors Timmy Wonka theory?
Who would have thought we'd ever talk about shrimp colors?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a thing, right? Shrimp colors? They can see more colors?
Honestly, I just kind of rolled with it. It sounds like a thing.
Colors.
I don't know. Things at the bottom of the ocean are weird.
Shrimps do not see a kaleidoscope of colors.
Well, that's a bummer.
Oh, here's the article title. Shrimps have 12... Okay. Shrimps have 12 color cone photo receptors, but then the title of this article is Shrimps do not see a kaleidoscope of colors. They are just really stupid. So thank you from the Tribune.
Oh, perfect. Well,
so I guess they just don't know how to access it. So I guess Willie could help them with that.
Cute.
Adorable.
Wow.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of Wonka Watch. If you enjoyed, you can email us at wonkaraptor@gmail.com. And you can, if you have your hot takes and opinions, if you want to tell us if we're wrong and bullshit and Timmy Wonka should be 13th on the list, which I'm sure there may be a few people who reach out to us about that. But you know what? Suck it. We've done this for 2.5 years. We're allowed to say what we want.
Truly.
Okay?
Yeah.
We've earned it. at this point. If you want to support us, you can go over to buymeacoffee.com/WonkaWatch. We just recorded a commentary track of Citizen Kane. Now, why did we do that? We just thought, wouldn't it be silly if we did a commentary track of the most critically, Freudian slip there, whoopsies, of the most critically acclaimed films of all time.
I did go into it. I literally knew nothing about it, and I didn't even look at the summary until we started it. And it was a very different movie than I thought it was going to be about.
Yeah, but it was good. We had a great time looking at Charles Washington Foster Kane's stupid little house. And if you support us on there, we are not going to be doing a song from here on out, because we realized, look, we like doing the songs for you guys, and we think they are fun and do their job. But I think none of you are going to be mad at us for saying, I don't think it's our best work.
No,
it's not our best work.
I think you all can feel the psychological breakdown that happens as well.
Right. And I hope you all forgive us for not wanting to end our podcast on that note. So our finale, we're going to be releasing the song. We're not going to be doing the song. We're going to be released from that hold, and we are going to give you guys, anybody who joins between like when we're recording this and that episode will get a nice shout out within episode. So we do have one person today. One person. So congratulations on getting the final song of Wonka
final
Watch.
song. Oh my goodness.
This is from Noel or Noel. I don't know, and I'm sorry, but one of the two. Hello. Thank you for causing one of the worst brain rots I've ever experienced. My roommate and I bought out our local grocery store stock of Wonka gummies because they were on clearance, and we don't even like them that much. No regrets. I'm excited to see what y'all are planning on doing next, and you'll find out very soon. Very soon.
Get excited. We are. Get excited.
Next episode, which is in like 3 weeks, but keep your...
Well, the episode following the commentary track. That's
episode following the commentary track.
The final episode, if you will. A lot easier to describe it as the final.
the last one. The one that we're all waiting for.
Yes.
I prepared a song for you, Elaine.
Okay.
Go Baroque, baby.
When I was on the hill, I had that story to tell. Noel and Noel, they were out there making pancakes in the forest, and then came along a witch, and Noel and Noel said, "Hey, what's up, bitch?" And she said, "Can I have a pancake?" And Noel and Noel said, "You can't have the pancake." And then the witch said, "Why? That's really rude." And they said, "This is from the IHOP Wonka menu." And she went, "Oh." And that is why we're not doing songs anymore.
Yep. I guess spoiler alert for the next podcast, the songs will not be continuing. They've had a good run, but we're tired. And I mean, Elaine's tired. And honestly, she's earned the tiredness. You guys have supported us so much, she's had a psychological break. No.
I really appreciate it. And we're gonna have really fun ways on how to shout people out on the next one.
Yeah, we got it.
Just no songs, but
no more songs.
Noel/Noel, which I love that also on the last one. We didn't know which name it was. We didn't know how to pronounce it. So that was really a classic way to end.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Thank everybody for listening to this episode of Wonka Watch. We've done it. It's not that important.
It's not that important. It's not that important at all. None of this was important.
Did we uncover maybe the conspiracy of the century about Timmy Wonka's power?
Hey,
develop
Vanity
a whole
Fair,
new read on the film.
You're too fucking scared. Vogue, chat to us.
When a big ass article comes out in like 2 months putting out the same theory, know that we were stolen from.
Yeah, just know it started here. So, but
it's not that important.
It's not that important. We're gonna.
It's not that
stop
important.
recording and nothing matters.
I will be a little pissed, but it's not that important.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just give us a fucking credit. Bye.
Come on.